Fora TV. The world is thinking.
Well, I must say, of all the adventures and all the great ideas you have had, certainly, I guess audacious would be one way to put it. Your project now to start up space tours, to take tourists into outer space. Tell us about that, and are you really serious about this, and where are you? Where are you in this project right now?
Well, I'll go back a bit because it might be quite an interesting example of how we look at business sectors. And in 1991, I watched the moon landing. I'm old enough to have watched it. I was, inspired by it. I assumed, having seen the moon landing, that I would be able to go into space in my lifetime because I was a teenager at the time. But decade by decade went by. NASA weren't opening their doors to you and me, and so I thought, NASA needed some competition. There needed to be a company that could actually offer people the chance of actually going to space. So in 1991, we formed the company Virgin Galactic Airways. I like the name, and I then set off around the world to meet every zany, mad scientist I could find who was interested in rockets and space technology, and the most incredible sort of contraptions. One day I should write a book about some of them. But anyway, and then finally came across Burt Rutan, who's a genius and maybe the best engineering genius, space genius, aviation genius in the world, and he was just developing Spaceship One, and so we agreed to sponsor Spaceship One with him, and we watched the three magnificent flights of Spaceship One, and then using that technology, we're now building Spaceship Two, which is twice as big as Spaceship One. The mothership is twice as big as the original mothership, and in a year from now, it'll go on its first test flight, and 18 months from now, myself, my children, and my parents, God willing, will go up in the first flight, and it'll be I think, a start of a really exciting new era in space travel.
Now, how far will you go into space? Where does it go?
The initial flights will go about 70 miles into space. So basically, you'll take off. You'll go up to 60,000 feet. You'll be attached under the mothership. You'll then drop away. You'll then have the biggest rush of your life from 0 to 3,500.
The biggest rush of your life. I'm not sure of my life.
My spelling is not working very well. from 0 to 3,500 miles an hour in 10 seconds, and then in space you'll unbuckle, and we've got these enormous big windows. You'll be able to float around looking back at the Earth, and Bert has come up with this really unique device, which is basically what he calls his feathering mechanism. It's it comes back into the Earth's atmosphere like a shuttlecock, which slows it up, so you don't have the problems that NASA has with its re-entry system. And then once you're back into the Earth's atmosphere, you turns back into a spaceship, and you come back down to Earth, and then if you've got a mother-in-law, we can always sort out one-way tickets.
What will, have you decided yet how much you'll charge? What will the ticket cost? First class ticket, of course.
Well, for us foreigners, the dollar's quite weak at the moment. It's quite cheap. But anyway, no, the initial flights would be $200,000.
200.
And
you get miles?
You get.
It might be worth it if you got miles.
You're not actually. If you're going to come, if you'll buy a ticket, if you get miles, we'll definitely arrange miles for you. but if you actually do a couple of, I would say, 1 million or 2 million miles on Virgin Atlantic, you get a space ticket. And we've actually had 3 or 4 people who fly a lot on Virgin Atlantic going into space.
Have you had anybody sign up yet?
He looks so surprised. The first 100 people we had exclusive first 100. They've all signed up, and then we've got about 40,000 people who paid small deposits. So there's an enormous interest for it, and I think the exciting thing about it is that it's not just these flights. I think it really is the beginning of, we've got 100 of the best engineers in America working on it. The next stage, that we'll also be able to send satellites into space, into orbit, at a fraction of the price that currently people can send them into orbit. And both our space flights and our satellite flights are almost completely environmentally benign. So, so we've actually managed to develop it. So, a NASA spaceship uses up almost 2 weeks of New York's electricity supply when it goes up. So, so that's I think very positive. We're then looking at seeing whether we can develop flights from New York to Australia in half an hour, and it sounds, it may be unbelievable, but that's the next stage, to see if we can just pop the spaceships up out of the Earth's atmosphere and then straight back down again. And the only problem is the airports, which we still have to get through. And then the next stage is hotels in space, which we're in the process of developing, so that.
You really are.
I'm absolutely serious. I used to enjoy April Fools, so nobody really believes me when I talk about space, but actually April Fools jokes. With the idea that people go to the hotel, and then we'll have we're looking at building small little spaceships, 2-man spaceships with glass tops, which we can program to pull you around by the moon's gravity around the moon, so you can just go 100 foot above the moon, around, and then back to the hotel. So anyway, we're dreaming, but we're working on it, and whether all this happens in our lifetime, we'll see. But the first stage of all this will definitely happen in our lifetime.